Now, I received some comments on this particular tutorial. The link to the tutorial, the original tutorial, is in the description, where we made this photo website. So the comment was, let's add a like button on this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do better. We'll add a like button, and then we'll also add comments to the photos here so that you know how to do that as well using the same MVC system. And then on top of that, I'm going to add notifications. Now, for each of these features, I'm going to do a separate video, of course, so that we don't lump everything together. And then after that, we're going to do the admin section. And then finally, we will upload this thing to an actual live server and see it run. Okay, that way at least you have a complete set of knowledge on how to go about doing this. And that's also, we add a bit of maybe we can add a bit of SEO as well, search engine optimization for the website as well, because right now if you look at the URL, it just says photo/8 because that's the ID of the photo. But this is not ideal because we don't know what this photo 8 is just by looking at the link. At least if we had the the title of this in the URL instead, that would be a much better option. But anyway, let's do one thing at a time. So let's start with the like button, right? So what you should do is go to a website called Icon Monster. It's Icon Monster without the E on monster there.com, or you can simply do a search for this website. It's got icons here that are pretty good. So I just searched for heart. I like this one with a sharp edge here, but it's up to you which one you want to get. I think this one actually looks like the usual heart, so I'm gonna remove these others here. So this is the one we are getting here, and you should click on the embed so that we grab the SVG inline version. All right, so we copy this text into our project. So let's go back to our project. So of course, download the project files in the link in the description. Yeah, so we continue here. So what I want to do is go to, because remember we have in the views here, we have an includes folder where we have a photo card for a single photo card here. So this is the beauty of having these include files, is once we edit this one, it edits wherever we are showing this thing there. So this is great. Now, when we click on either the image or this part, it takes us to a different page. So let me see here. If I come back, and let's come back here. Also, if you look at the title, it says unknown there, so we need to fix that eventually. Let's actually wait a minute. Yeah, let's actually fix that if we can. What you can do is go to, I'm going all over the place now, but bear with me here. If I go to photo, that's a single photo, and if I go to the controller of a single photo, which is this one, at this point if we did receive data, then we can update the title of this place here. So if I copy this, once we are inside data like that and we grab that, there's a title in there. So what we're going to do is put data and say title like so, and then we're going to say is equal to that, and then the title of the image. But I want this to be capitalized with the first letter only, so I'm going to say UC first, like that. Okay, so just by doing that, now instead of unknown inside our title there, we will have surprise, surprise, which is this text right there, then my photos. This is better for search engine optimization because at least the title of the page has the title of the post there. So that's one way to do things. All right, so let's add the heart on these single photo thingies. So let's go to includes photo card here, and that thing I copied, I can put it anywhere here. So let me just paste. Oh, sorry, I ended up copying something else in the process. So let me copy this back, and let's paste that SVG over here. Now I found that with SVG you can get rid of this text over here. Just less text is better. It will still work just fine. So the width and height is 24 pixels. There's a path here. Now you could put a color if you want here. So let's see how that can be done. So if I now refresh, you see there's a heart on each one of these, which is nice. So this is on the home. If you go to the home page, actually, that's there too, because this is an include file. Okay, great. That's good. But let's say we want to change the color to blue. Let's grab a color that we want, really. I'm gonna actually, what we need to do is let's put a fill color. So to change the color here, you use fill like that. Then you say fill, and let's try blue like so. Okay, so let's refresh, and you see it has changed to a blue color, which is nice. Let's inspect that. Maybe we can make adjustments to it in the CSS here. There should be, yeah, actually that isn't. Okay, I want this blue for Bootstrap, the primary that I found in here. Let me copy that. You don't have to check there, you can just see the numbers there. So those are the numbers to type, and it's a much lighter blue. Yeah, that's better. And now I want a few things here. I want to put this, let me put this inside a div. Okay, so I'm gonna do this div like so. Just makes things easier. Let me put a slash there. Okay, so it's inside a div. Now what I want to do is make this div, let's give it some styles, right? I'm going to change the position of this. So position should be absolute, so that we can position it absolutely, so with very specific coordinates. So if I now refresh, this is what I see here. So it hangs around the main thing there, but let's see how well it will stand the test of time. So I want it on the right side, so I'm going to say right 0 pixels like that. So let's see what that does. Okay, so as you can see now, all the hearts have gone to the very edge of the page here. Now the reason this is true is because we are positioning these absolute to the actual page. Now we want to position them absolute to each individual div here. So what we need to do is make sure this div above here, we change the style of the position to relative. So as long as you change the position from static, which is the original, to anything above that, which is like relative, fixed, and so on, then whatever you position absolutely inside it will be positioned in reference to the main thing here. So if I now refresh, you'll see the hearts are on each individual location. So that's great. Now let's go here and add some classes. I want some margin, actually padding around this. Let's try padding true, and let's put a BG white, background white. So those are Bootstrap classes that I'm using here, and there we go. So we have a white background here for the heart there. So you can design this as you wish. It doesn't have to, it's not really following the, let me put 5 pixels away from the thingy here. Let me try 10. So please go ahead and design that as you wish. Let's put a cursor here, pointer, so that cursor pointer, let's put border as well. Okay, just so we can see what's going on, and there we go. All right, so we have a heart here. Now we want this to turn red when we click to, okay, so when we click to like the thing. And also we can put a hover effect just so that how can we do that? We can put a hover effect just so we let the user know that there is something here. So to add a hover effect, we can add it here, even though this is overkill, adding styles here because the styles will be repeated every time that single box is repeated, but it's really up to you how you want to do this. Let's put a class here. This class is heart. Okay, so then I'm gonna do dot heart and then say hover like that. And what I'm gonna do is use a transform and use a scale. Let's try 1.1. That's usually enough. So when we hover on that thing, it grows. Yeah, there we go. So it expands when we do that. That's great. But it's better to put a transition. So I'm gonna do this, put hover here, and the heart, remove the hover like that, and then just put a transition. I could put it directly here actually. I don't need to do this. Let me just put the transition here. I'm gonna say transition. What are we transitioning? The transform tools. Or you can put O. Just to simplify things, just transition everything, and then we say 0.3 maybe seconds, and then easy ease like that. Okay, I want it to pop out, so there we go. It doesn't seem to have any transition whatsoever. What's going on here? Oh wait, it's this that I'm supposed to transition. Sorry about that. So let me move these guys here, from here to, wait, what's happening? To here. There we go. That's the thing I'm supposed to transition. Okay, there we go. Now I don't want this transition. What I want really is something more shaky than this. So what I'm going to do is look for the transition in the CSS. So I'm going to right click and say inspect just to make sure that's the thing I'm on. And I'm looking for the transition. Transition. Where are we? Okay, this is where's my transition here? This is not great. Okay, so it's in the SVG. The transition is on this, so select that div, and there it is. So where it says ease here, I can click on that and actually change a few things. I want this one backward. So this one uses the cubic Bezier instead. So that's the one I like. So what I'm gonna do is replace this with what I copied there, and you see the transition is now cubic Bezier. Alrighty then, so let's do that, and it doesn't pop out enough. So what I'm gonna do here, let me just put 1.4, make it bigger, the scale, so we can, yep, you can see that, but that's too much. So put as much as you need. Very nice. So now what we want is to allow the like button to respond, right? When we click, we want a response here. And so we will need to use JavaScript because we want real-time feedback. If we can easily put a link here that will lead to one page, and then it will redirect us back here if we use PHP only, but that's why we have JavaScript. So let's use JavaScript instead. So the first step you have to do is add an event listener to every one of these here. Now, instead of using JavaScript to add the event listener, I just prefer to just type it in there and say on click if I can, and say when we click, we're going to say, we're going to create a what is this, an object in JavaScript called post. Okay, or maybe let's call it image. Now let's call it post just in case it's a post. So the object is going to have functions inside it, and one of those functions would be called like, because of course we want to like something. So we're going to say post.like, like that. So now we can easily just create a function called like that and have it run. That's no problem. But when you're dealing with a large project, you expect many functions to have the same name. So in order to kind of avoid name repetition, it's better to put functions inside single objects. That way you have to do something like post.like. Maybe there's a post, there's also a comment. Then you can have a comment object where you do comment.like, something like that, comment.like. This comment.like and post.like will be two different objects, which is good. It's the same like function, but because they reside in different objects, it makes for easier naming conventions, so to speak. So let's put post.like there. Now we have to know what we are liking here, right? And of course we know the ID of this item we're liking is right there. So I'm going to copy that and put it in here, like so. So what's going to happen is, now remember that the way things work is this. JavaScript starts working when the code gets to your browser. Okay, that's when it starts working. JavaScript doesn't work on your server. So on the server, what happens is all PHP is processed, turned into actual text, and then the page is sent to your browser. And then when it gets to the browser, this is when JavaScript wakes up and says, oh, let me do this and that, etc. So what this means is that while we are still on the server, this is going to be converted to a number that represents the raw ID as the page is loaded here. So this could be a number like 1 or 2. So in actual sense, this is what we're going to see. So let me just put that there and show you this. So we go here and I'm going to refresh that. So if I now inspect one of these, I go to inspect like so. You will notice that there is an on-click listener on this, which says post.like, and then there's a number inside there, which is 10. Okay, so that's the post ID. Now, if I was using text instead, I would probably need to put single quotes around this like that to make sure that, as you can see the 10 there, if I now refresh, you see it's got quotes around it in case that was a string. So let's just use the string version of this. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. That's the post ID. So we're going to like that post, right? There it is. Great. This is good. It's going to work. Now we need to create the object itself. Now, instead of putting, remember that this part here, right here, is repeated many times on a single page. So this is like one single item of this. So if I put my JavaScript here, if I put my script, let's say, over here, then it's going to be repeated many times on the page. So every function that I create, let's say I say something like var post is equal to, I create an object like so, right? This is going to be a problem. So this is some JavaScript because I'll be repeatedly recreating this var post every time this is loaded. So let me refresh that and let's see what happens if we go to our console. Okay, it doesn't complain. Usually JavaScript is meant to not complain so much. So what JavaScript does is if you make a function here and then the function is repeated many times, it will just make use of the last function. It will ignore the others. But we don't want such redundancies. So I'm going to cut this out, and let's go to the actual page and put that thing there. So photos right there. So we can put our code, our script code, even after the thing. It doesn't really matter where you put it. It's going to work anyway. So we have that post thingy. Now inside here, I want to put stuff because that's the post object. I want to put stuff like a function. So the function called like, that's the one we want. So we put a full colon because this is how you add items in an object. You do a key value pair, but instead of a value here, we'll put an actual function like that. Okay, and then we need a comma there because this is how we add item to an object. Normally you would do this. You'd say let my object, like obj is equal to, and then you open brackets like this, and then maybe here you say name full colon, and then you put John, and then comma, you put age, and then 24, something like this, 23, 24. So this is an object. However, you can actually put functions in here, something like get age, and then full colon, and then you put an actual function there, like so. But then you can open it up so that you put more content there. Then when you call this thing, it's going to run the function like that. So that's what we're trying to do here. All right. So we can put other things. We just don't forget to put the comma after every function you add. Okay, so this is a like function, and it expects a post ID, right? Post ID, like so. So all I want for now is just to get an alert to tell me what post ID that is. So alert and post ID, like that. Great. So we have our object, we have a way to call it, and let's see if that works. So now I'm going to refresh, and every time I click on that, I get, you see, that's 10, and this is post 2, this should be post 1, etc, etc. So as you can see, it knows which one we have clicked. So this is awesomeness. Yes, yes. Now we want an instant reaction, so we're going to use Ajax to send information to the server and ask for a response. So we tell it to like this thing there, and then we get a response, right? So let's see how we're going to do that. So in the post here, we can create another function called send data, like so, and let's add a function like that. Okay, don't forget the comma at the end there. Great. So we're going to be sending data. Here we'll put an object like obj, like so. So imagine we supply an object in there. So I'm going to do let xhr. Now you can call this anything you want. This is just a variable, but we want to create an XML HTTP request object like that. All right. So take care of the capitalization there, very important. I forgot my equal sign there. Okay, there we go. So now we have our XML HTTP request object. Then we will need to open it, and then we'll need to send something like that. All right. So let's figure out those things. And also we need to know when the result comes in. So we want to add an event listener. So we say add event listener. So yeah, this is JavaScript. So hopefully you know a little bit of JavaScript, but this is how it goes. I have a crash course on JavaScript actually, so you can check my playlists for that as well. So add event listener. How do we add an event listener? We tell it what event to listen for. This is the ready state change, or you can listen to the load event as well. I think it'll work just fine. Let's put a function that will run whenever a state has changed. And let's put a semicolon there and open that up. Okay, so we've added an event listener, and we only care when results come in, and we know results have come in if the status, actually the ready state, is equal to 4. This is when we know results are in. So if xhr.readyState is equal to 4, then we have some result. So the result here, I'm just going to alert us to the result, and the result is inside response text like that. All right, so when we open here, we must tell it that we are using a post request, and we need to tell it where we are sending this data. Now remember, all the time when you are referencing a specific page, you need to use the root variable, but we're going to get it from PHP like so. So we can still directly put PHP variables or values inside. For example, if I want to get the root variable from my PHP, I can just say let root is equal to, and then put quotes and then do that like so. Now the reason this will work, because this is PHP, right? I'm echoing this root variable in here, is because by the time JavaScript takes over, this will not be root, it's going to be actual text, like an actual variable, because PHP has already done its job and it's going to give me the actual root value here, which then will be taken up by JavaScript, and then I can put that here. But we can just directly drop it in there. Now we're going to create a controller called Ajax that's going to deal with our Ajax requests. So it's just root/Ajax like that. Okay, and then when we send, we should be able to send this object, but I would much rather we send things like a normal post request. So let's create a form to facilitate that. So I'm going to create a form. Now you don't really need to create a form. You can always send your object as a string by just using json.stringify like this, stringify like so, and then you stringify the object and send it as plain text. So that's one way to do it, but I'm going to use a form instead because future-proof, you know, just in case I want to send images at some point, it will be easier to do if it's already a form object. So my form is equal to new form data like that. Capitalization there matters. Okay, so now my form dot append, so let's add some stuff to it. So this is like adding inputs. So we give it a name or a key value pair, and I know whatever object is going to be here, we can just loop through it. So what I'll do is I'm going to do a loop. I'm going to say for key in object like that, so that I can grab the keys as well of that object. So what I'm going to do is put the key here as the key, comma, and then the value will come from obj key like that. Okay, so here we're just reading from the object using the specific key that we are on right now. So this is how we append the items to the form and then post it. Okay, now we also need to avoid repeated requests while one is running. Okay, so what we're going to do is, let's create a variable here. We're going to say posting, we're going to say false. Okay, don't put a semicolon there, put a colon. So posting will be equal to true once we start posting here. So posting is equal to true. Now it won't know which posting you're talking about. You have to tell it it's this one inside post. So you can say this like this to reference this object, but let's just be very specific and say post.posting is equal to true. Okay, so there we are posting. Now before we even change that, we need to ask ourselves, are we posting right now? So we're gonna say if post, where is this, dot posting, which means if it's true, then let's return. So we exit the function if we are already posting here, okay, unless it's false. So we need a way to falsify it, of course, because the first time we run this, posting will be false. So it's gonna ignore this, but then it will set it to true. And then anytime after that, we can't proceed because it will remain true. But once the ready state is 4, regardless whether the result is good or not, we should falsify this one. So we're gonna say false. Okay. Very good, very good. Very nice, very nice. So here we'll get an alert of the response text we get, blah, blah, blah. Things are great. Now, when I click like here, I have a post ID here, of course. So what I'm going to do is let me create an object. So I'm going to say obj is equal to an empty object, like so. And then what I'll do is I'll just say obj dot. Now I can add some keys to this. Let's say the post ID is equal to the post ID, like that. Okay. So this is this. We're adding properties to this object. One of those is, or keys, so to say, one of those is this one. Now, another way to look at it is just to create an object and then just put the things in there directly. So we're going to say post ID like that, and then full colon, and then put the post ID itself. So this is the key, and the value is this one. Now, when both the key and the value are exact same variable, you don't actually have to do this and put a full colon and that. You can just put one thing like so, and it will know what to do. It will create a key and a value from just that information. Now, we also need to know what the data type is like that. So we'll create a variable called data type. That way we can use the Ajax controller for a lot of things, and we'll have this way of knowing what to do with the data we're receiving at that time. So we are trying to mimic a REST API of some kind. So data type here, let me put a full colon. What will be the data type? Actually, I don't need quotes around this. It will work the same. But here, I will need to specify a data type. So we're going to just call it like here. That's all. You can say like image or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a like. So just a way for us to determine or to figure out what to do with the information we have received. And then I'm going to tell it to send. So I'm going to say post.sendData. And then in there, it expects an obj, an object. So let's give it that. We have that obj there, so let's put object in there. Very cool. Now this, I can do it like so it's easier to see what's going on, like that. Okay, that way you can add more content there. Great. So we are sending those two things as a post request. Very nice. And then we'll get a response. Now at this point we won't get a response because the file does not exist. There's no controller named ajax.php. So we'll get a 404, page not found. But let's give it a shot, right? Let's refresh the page and let's click. So here, this is what we get. You see an h1 tag which says view file not found. Interesting. But why does it say view file not? Isn't there 404? This is the information we are getting. So let me change this to page not found. By the way, this is the view file for the 404 where the page is not found. So you can design it as you wish. So here, page not found, that's what I'm going to get now. If I try again to click, I'll get page not found. You see there? That means we are loading the 404 page because ajax.php does not exist. So let's create it over here. Yeah, we need to create a controller. We can use our command line too, of course, to do that, but it's okay. We're going to use the copy and paste. So I'm just going to copy there, go to controllers, new file, and here, namespace controller, everything remains the same. We may need this model. We don't need the image model here. So I'm going to remove that. This one is, I'm going to change the names to reference Ajax. We don't even need a title because we're not going to have a view file for this anyway. What else? But just for us to keep, actually we don't even need this data object here because we don't even need this whole line actually. We don't need a view file at all. So let me save this as Ajax, capitalized A, ajax.php, save. Very cool. Okay, so this is what we have. Now I don't need any of this stuff here, but let me leave the object. So what I'm going to do is whatever is echoed here will be your result. So I'm just going to say this is Ajax controller over here so that we know that things are working. So whatever we echo here, even an error, is going to be returned as a result, because an error, when errors are echoed to the screen all the time. So if there's an error, that will be part of the result. Just like when I echo that, that's what I'm going to get now. If I click, you see, this is the Ajax controller. Very nice. So now that Ajax controller can check for things like, was something posted, etc., etc. Now, where do we post things? Let me go to upload, right? That's where we had posted stuff. This is where we needed this request and session. So I'm going to copy those from there. Let's go to our Ajax. Let me move it over here. Paste. Great. Let's go back to our upload here. Let's steal some things. Okay, so this part is if the user is logged in. So the user has to be logged in for this to work. Otherwise, yeah, it won't work otherwise. So let's go here. Let me come back here and let's paste this over there. So if the user is not logged in, we'll just die over there. But before that, we can do an echo and say, please log in or something. Please. What am I typing? To like, yeah, something like that. Okay. So we'll get that information if we are not logged in. Let me get back here. Let's see. So what I'm looking for is this part here. Post data. We don't need to validate. We just want to grab what was posted. So I'm going to get this. This is what I need. So let's come over here. Paste like this. Okay. We're doing great. We're doing great. So let me refresh and let's click here. It says warning undefined variable session. Okay, that's because we didn't instantiate any of these babies. So let me grab that. Oops, what have I done? I'm supposed to copy. And let's come over here and paste. Very nice, very nice. Okay, so as you can see, the result here was the warning and the errors and stuff. So keep that in mind. All right, so click. Wait, still a warning? What is this? Because we're trying to use session here before we declare it. Okay, so that's a problem. Let's move things up a little bit, like so. All right, so now let's try again. So things are working. You notice that we don't have to refresh the page when we are testing this because the Ajax request happens in real time. Okay, so great. We have stuff. Now, instead of returning text like this, it's always better to return Ajax, not Ajax, sorry, JSON data, because JSON data is well organized than this. You know, it's easier to parse through that data than just plain text. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to switch to using JSON data as a response, right? So the first thing we want to do is check out what post data was sent. So I'm going to copy this over here. I'll remove this since this is just for checking. We'll edit this a bit later to format it into JSON instead. Into JSON, yes, of course. So here what I'm going to do is let's use the show function and just see what's inside post data. So when I click, what data is sent there? So this is the data here. It's an array, of course, and then there's a post ID of 8 and there's data type, which is like. So we have all the information we need. I know what post I want to, I know that this is a like that's happening, and I know what post I'm trying to like. The only thing missing is who is doing the liking, and we can get that from the current user's session. So once we get that, I can go to sesh right here to get the user ID. Now let me just add this one in the post data as well. So we can always just add it there. I'll just say post data user ID is equal to, let's use the session and user function inside session to grab any column of the user, which is the ID. So let's get that right. Let's see. Oh, I don't need to refresh. Bad habit. So I'm going to click on that, and things didn't go as planned because I'm not getting any responses. So probably, I don't know really what's happening. Usually you go to the console, right click, go to the console. Post is not defined. That's very strange. Strange indeed. Okay. That's weird. So when I refresh the page, post is not defined, which means there's an error in my JavaScript somewhere. Ah, okay. Apparently not. If I refresh, okay, looks like it's working. So you see, the one that's liking is user 1. The post we're liking is, oh, we know this is a like, first of all. The user that's liking is user 1. The post they're liking is post 7. That's all the information we need right now. Okay, so we need to create a table to store this data. And then we can read it back and say, okay, this user liked this and so on. And also, we need to update the number of likes in the user's post or the user's thingy here. Now, this is, let's see. One like, how do we do this? We can just put a number there actually. Okay, so there are many ways to do things, but this is fine. So let's look at the data type. So here we're gonna say if post data type, if it's equal to like, then we are doing a like right now. So the reason we're putting data type is here. In future, we're going to add comments. So it's not going to be a like, it may be a comment. So we'll put an else statement so that we do something else if it's a comment, right? Okay, so there we go. We have this happening here. And all I want to do is insert some data in the photo. What's this in the photo? Wait a minute. Okay, first of all, what we need is a table to store that data we just showed. So we're going to create a migration file. So let's go to our command line 2 one more time. And let's list the migration files that are there. So I'm going to do PHP there, Thunder, list migrations. So by the way, you have to navigate to the folder that contains your project here, and this is my folder here for this to run properly. So that's the folder there. So list migrations. Let's try that out. Let's see what's going on. Okay, I guess my computer is asleep or something. Let me press enter again. Ah, there we go. Okay, so those are the migration files. Now we're going to create a new one. So the PHP Thunder make migration, and what are we going to call it? Likes, like that. Bam. Okay, so there we go. We have a likes table over here, migration file. So let's go to our migrations here. We have a likes thingy. So what do we need in the likes? We don't need date created unless you want to know when somebody liked a post. Yeah, that could be one way to do it, but in this case we don't need that. What I want only is the user ID, for example. So I'm going to replace that with user ID. I also want to change this to post ID, so we know the post ID, the user who liked, and let's see, the post and the user that liked. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's all we need actually. And ID is a primary key. That's fine. Likes table. That we don't want to insert any data, so I'm gonna remove this. Drop table. Okay, so that's good enough. This is all we need really, because post ID, user ID, that kind of thing. If I click here, hey, what's happening? Why does it return an empty blah 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 blah? What is happening? Oh, because I'm not doing that show thing anymore. Okay, show post data. I just want to see that data again to confirm that that's all we need. Okay, so the post ID and the user ID, we already know it's the likes table, so we don't need to save this data. Okay, so that's good enough actually. So now let's run that migration file. that we created. Let me go to localhost and PHP my admin so that we look at our the database. So where's the database? My photos DB, and we have users and photos. So those are the two tables that exist. But now if we run this migration, so I'm going to copy that and just say PHP Thunder migrate and put the migration file name, and there it is. So the table was created. If I now refresh, you see there's a likes table there with the stuff that we need. Oh, actually, sorry about that. Let me drop this table. Mistake there. So I'm gonna do PHP Thunder migrate rollback and paste the name. Okay, so that table was removed. Yeah, it's removed because I let me click here. It's no longer there because I didn't actually finish creating the migration file. See, user ID should not be date time. It should be int, like that. Okay, int 11 doesn't have to specify 11, but yeah, it shouldn't allow a no value. So the default value should be 0, but we can leave that there as it is. Okay, so auto increment, this should be a primary key, the ID. Okay, now it's complete. So what I'm gonna do is remove that and run the migration file again. So PHP Thunder migrate, yes, paste, enter. All right, so our table should be back, and there it is. Very nice. We go to the structured. Oh, I didn't put keys on these things. Oh my god, I need those to be keyed. Where is this? So I'm going to duplicate this twice, and this is just going to be add the key like that, and then put user ID and post ID like so. Okay, great. So we add those keys. Oh my goodness, now I need to copy this again, roll it back. Actually, this is what the refresh thing should do. Instead of roll back and then do it again, you can use the rollback function to do this, where you remove something, remove the table and put it back. Okay, so there we go. We have the structure. Let's see, the structure now has two keys there. That's what I wanted. So two indices there, so for faster reading from the database. Okay, great. So now we can just save that information that we let me close this. So if we go to the Ajax, you see, when we get here, all I want to do is save. So I'm going to just do photo like that and say insert, right? Let's insert, and let's insert whatever is inside. Oh no, actually that's not the photo thing, that's the like thing, that's the like table. So we need to create a new model for it. So let's do PHP Thunder make model, and we're gonna call it like. Great, as simple as that. So now we have a new model in here. If you go to models, there's a like model there. Okay, so the table is likes, primary key is ID. We don't need this, but we can just put it there. And here the editable columns are user ID and post ID. Let's remove the other. That's all we need. We don't need any validation rules whatsoever. So we can just delete this whole part here. It's not a big deal. Out, because we will never need it. Okay, so that's all we need for that. That's that. And I'm gonna close this. All right. So instead of instantiating the photo thingy, what we're gonna do is instantiate the like thing there. So I'm gonna change that to like the like class instead. So like insert, and what we're going to insert is the post data, like so. As simple as that, right? We just insert, and that's it. Okay. We don't even need a response whatsoever. Now, the problem here is we can keep liking one post over and over again. So let me show you this. So if we go to the browse here, it's empty, right? So let's refresh the page. Let me like this one. Boom, liked. Okay, so no indication whatsoever that I've liked that. But let's go to the table, and there it is. Look at that. The post name ID, the user who has liked. That's great. Let's like a different post. And as you can see now, this is a different post. But if I try to like the same post again, you will notice that this data is repeated. The same user ID and the same post ID liked. Now we can like and unlike. So in order to facilitate that, to avoid deleting and adding the information once again, let's add one more column where we can disable and enable things. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's go back to our migration file. Sadly, we have to migrate again. I'm going to change this one to disabled like that, and then change this to tiny int and length of 1, default to 0. Okay, so let me put a key for that as well, disabled like that. Okay, so let's drop our table and put disabled back there. Now the reason we're putting that extra column is so if I unlike this post, instead of deleting the row, all I do is disable it if I have a disable column here. That way, when I like it again, because it's easy to just click like, dislike, if I like it again, I just enable it again, and so on, rather than deleting rows and adding new rows, because that disturbs your index. Your primary key has to, because you're going to have a lot of gaps in your IDs. If you're deleting stuff and adding new things, you find that certain row numbers are missing, and every time you do that, you delete your indices, like the primary key has to recalculate, which may end up slowing down your system if you've got thousands and thousands of users. So what we're going to do is roll back again, PHP Thunder migrate, and let's do a rollback of this specific table thingy. Bam. Okay, now let's do that again and recreate it. So this is migrate, and bam. Okay, so if I now I have a disabled column. Okay, so disabled column, good. We do need that. Okay, so let's close this. I'm sure that's the last we'll be seeing of that. And if we're inserting, right, whenever we are inserting, we have to put disabled at 0, even though that's the default, so it doesn't really matter. We don't have to add it, but it's always better to be safe. We say 0. That way we make sure. Then there will be times when we're simply updating. Okay, now if a like already exists, what I wanted to do is to disable it. If there's already a like, disable. Now how do we know there's a like? We can compare the post ID and the user ID. If they match, then it means that was already done. So we should either disable or enable it. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is check if a record exists. If it doesn't, we do a new insert. So to check for a record is simple. We just do like this, and we'll put an if statement, and we will say row is equal to, so let's put an if statement and say if row is equal to like first, like that, right? So in the first here, we check for the user ID. Okay, so if the user ID exists, so the user ID is sent in the post data, which is right here. It's right there. So I'm going to copy that and paste it in here. Okay, so we're creating an array here where we supply the user ID and then let's put a comma and the post ID. So we're trying to find a result there. I'm going to paste that, and there is post ID here being sent, post ID, like that. So that's the if statement right there. So if this returns a result, meaning there's already a record there, then we do something else. If else, that's when we insert a new record, like so. All right, so I'm gonna move that in like so. Great, so we insert a new record, but otherwise, if a record already exists, we need to disable it. So I'm going to put the disable code here instead, where we set disable is equal to 1, and then instead of insert, we update. Now, in order to update, we need to know the ID. So we're going to grab it from the same row we just got. So we just say row ID, comma, like so. Okay, very, very good. Very good. So we disable if it exists and enable. Now, there are times when the record exists, but it's disabled, right? Because you disliked the thing. Now you click it again and you want it to be enabled this time. So what we're going to do here is check. If it's enabled, we disable it. If it's disabled, we enable it. It's as simple as that. So here, we'll leave this out, but then we'll duplicate this and put one of them should have a 0, one should have a 1. So all we need to do is put an if statement and check inside the row. If row disabled, right, you can specify is equal to 1 or is equal to 2. But just as by saying row disabled, meaning it's true, meaning if it's a 1, then put a 0 instead. So let's do this. So if row disabled, if you do that, you are checking whether it's a 1 and not a 0. And then the other option, actually we don't even need an else statement here. All we have to do is move this up there. So we set it to 1 first, but if it's already a 1 originally from the database, then we set it to a 0, as simple as that. And then we update like that. So let's test our new machine. So here we don't have a record, right? So if I go here, and I want to like this one, so I'm going to click there. Okay, so there's an error, parse error, syntax error, unexpected token, on line 38. Okay, 38, unexpected token. Usually this means we've missed a bracket somewhere, or a semicolon. So I think there's a missing bracket here, so I'm going to put one closing bracket there. Okay, let's try that again. Boom. Okay, that's great. Let's check our table, and as you can see now, we have user ID 9. It's not disabled, but let's try and like this again. Boom, which means we've disliked it now, so it should be disabled when I refresh, and it isn't. Ooh, boy. Okay, so what's going on? Let me click there again, just to be sure. Nah, it's not disabling. So something wrong with our logic. Yes, something is wrong. Okay, so it's not inserting, which is refreshing. At least we're not going that way, but it means we are going this way. Okay, so if we're going this way, the post ID here, if we set it to 1 first of all, but if we say row disabled, which means currently it's at 0, wait. Hey, I'm getting confused. Let me just put is equal to 1 for my peace of mind, right? So that I see that that's not the part that's wrong. Nah, that's not the part that's wrong, but I'm gonna leave it like that. It's fine. Okay, so update row ID, post data. You see, this is the problem. I'm updating with post data, which means I'm getting the original information, right? That's not right. Or does it really matter? Anyway, the only thing I should be updating is the disabled. thing. So I'm going to just do disabled column. I shouldn't be updating the other columns at all. So I will just grab this guy from the disabled. Actually, I don't even need to put it inside post data. I can just do this and say disabled is equal to, just to keep things simple, like that. Copy, and let's paste it there. So we update just one thing. Okay, let's click again. Fatal error. You have a error in your SQL. Okay, what have I done? Update disabled. Okay. This should be an arrow. Sorry. That doesn't constitute an array. That's why. So click. What is happening? Okay, this is insane. You have an error in your... Okay, it does show the error. It says near where ID is equal to 1, blah, blah, blah. What is going on here? This should not be a problem here. Oh, no, this is actually right. I almost got confused there. What is going on? Okay, in cases like this is the update function we're dealing with, right? So in cases like this, you have to go to the model itself. Let's go in the core model. Let's look for the update function itself. This is right here. And let's echo our query as usual right before we execute it. Let's see what's wrong with our query. So I'm going to do echo query like this. Okay, and let's try that. So there it is. That's our query. Update likes set where ID is equal to... Okay, set... Okay, so it seems there are empty columns in there. This is what happened even last time. So there's nothing wrong with our models thingy. It's just that it doesn't seem like there are columns anywhere. What is going on? What's happening? Oh, actually, let me go back. Let me see where this problem starts from. So there's an update function here. There's data, column ID. So ID and data. This looks normal. Okay. I see where the problem is. Sorry, my bad. These are things we easily forget. So the problem is with the model itself. Where is this? Like model. Because it doesn't have the disabled... so that's why we weren't even able to update it. The code was okay even originally. It's just that the disabled column was not among the allowed columns, so that's why it wasn't being updated. Alright, so this time things should work as intended. So back here, let me click. Yep, now it's disabled. If I click, then now it's enabled. That's great. Let's try and like a different post. Let's add Ed Sheeran. We should have a new record there. And there it is. So things are working as intended. Now, how does this help us? This helps us because now we can check specifically which posts the user liked. So currently, it doesn't show me how many likes I have, but at least I can know who liked what. So we can do that by going to our like.php model. So remember that these models are actually classes, which means you can put functions in here. So for example, let me put a public function, which I can access from the outside. So I'm going to say public function. I'll call it user liked, like that. That's what I'm going to call that one. Now, if you don't like using underscores, you can use capitalization instead. So it's like this, user liked. But just stick to one system. Whatever system you want to use, stick to it. It's better to remember function names like that. So I want to check if a user liked a specific post, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll need two things. I'll need the user ID we are talking about, and I'll need to know what post we are talking about. So post underscore ID. Now, if you're using PHP 8 and above, even on your server, you may want to add type hinting here. But I'll avoid doing that for now because I'm not sure about the online server we're going to be using a free server so that everybody can follow along, and those things are never updated, are never up to date, so I don't want errors when I do get there. But who knows, maybe we can still do it. Yeah, I like this. Okay, int, I think that will still fly with PHP 7.5, I think. Anyway, just to be thorough. So in here, what I want to do is read from the database to see if this user liked this. Now, this is the like model, so it can access data from the from z.rubies. So let's put an if statement. So I'm going to say if. Now, I just want to know if I get a result, which means this user did indeed like this post. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do first, just so I get any result. Then here I'll put a user ID and put that user ID that came in, and then comma, post ID equal to the post ID that came in, and then not forgetting the post should not be disabled, so disabled should be equal to 0, right? So if this is true, then return true if we get a result there, otherwise return false. So this is as simple as that. We're going to know if a user liked a post or not. So we put the user ID and the post ID right next to each other. So the way we can use this is if we go to, let's say, where is this? The post view, right? Now, if I go to the 4O's controller, the same way I've sent these guys, I can also send the like class, okay? And new like that. Now I have to tell it here as well to use that version. Okay, so I have the like thing in here. I should do this as well on the homepage, wherever we have, on whatever controller where we have those single posts, we should probably do that. So I'm going to do this and get the like thingy, and same thing here, and I'm going to say like, new like. That way we have that object available. And so if it is available, if I now go to the view files, let's go to the photos view right here. So here where we're supplying the image thingy, the whatever, and what I'm gonna do is what to do. I'm gonna add that as well. So duplicate, and I'll change this to like that. Okay, great. This is in the 4O's thing. Let's go to the home page as well. We have a similar issue here, so I'm gonna do that. Like, we're just transferring the like class into the includes photo card here. The reason is we want to know what color to give the fill here, right? If we liked or we didn't like. So what I'm going to do here is this. I'm going to put some PHP tags so we can do a little processing here. So the fill color here will be saved by the variable color. Okay, so just to be specific, I'm going to say heart color, like that will echo whatever heart color is. And here I'm just going to say heart color is equal to whatever color we had originally, which is blue, as the default. But then we're going to ask our question and say, actually let's just say heart color is equal to, let's use the ternary operator, the shortcut for an if statement, right? What has happened here? What have I done? What is this? All this typing has ruined something. Yeah. Anyway, what I'm gonna do is copy this part, maybe this whole part here, since this seems fine. Then let me undo many times until I see what is going on here. No? Oh my god. Okay, anyway, redoing it. So actually we just need one line here, we don't need all of this. We say hot color is equal to, and then we check there's the like object, and we say user liked, like that, because this returns true or false, right? So we can put a question mark. If the user liked, which is true, we're going to change this to a red color instead. So what I'm going to do is just do an inspection here and just convert this field color to something else. Now I don't know, I'm just going to edit one of these to give it a red color of some kind, or a purple color like that. So copy that, and that's the one. I'm gonna duplicate this and put that there. Oops, actually I'm gonna change this one. Let's put a full colon there, like so. Okay, so now we need to supply the current user. Oh great, we need to know who's logged in right now. So too many things to send actually. I'm trying to avoid this, but what can we do? What can we do? Okay, session is always, since session is always part of the header file, I suspect it will always be available. So what we're gonna do is, let's go back to photos view here. Too many things I'm adding here, I don't like this. But what can we do? What can we do? Wait a minute, if we go to, this is why sometimes you need to break away from the OOP structure, because sometimes it just makes things so verbose. Okay, let's see. What to do? I can have a user function somewhere here. I don't have one. Okay, I want an easier way to grab user information, the current user. So what I'll do is, let me just add a function called user, and this one will be the column, right? Let's set it to an empty if possible as a. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna say user is equal to new core. Actually no, this is the session that I want. So I'm just gonna say sesh is equal to new core session, and I'm gonna say return sesh user, whatever that column is we sent there. Okay, so this is an easier way for me to avoid doing this every time, so the function will do it for me. So let's go back to where we are. Where was we? In the single card. So here the user ID is just going to come from the user function, and I'll get the ID from there, and then I'll put the post ID, and that will come from the row and ID, right? Because this is our post. Yeah, great. So with that, I should see some different colors on the ones that I have liked. Okay, so 28 like.php. Okay, like.php model on line 28. Seems we are missing another bracket. Oh, is it? First, no, we're missing. What are we missing? What's going on? What is it saying? Unexpected token. This is unexpected token. Ah, right. We need, this is a function. I forget that, right? Okay, that does it. Boom. Ah. All right, so there's something wrong with the card, single card view. I don't know what happened here. This is weird. What is this? I think my file got corrupted or something, because wow, this doesn't look anything like what I had previously, right? I don't know what happened here. So this might not be an issue you're having because you're not typing like a maniac like me here. So what I'm gonna do is just, let me go to my folder here, because I have the original file in the, so let me open folder. I can extract from here. So let me just open this. I want to look for this specific file. So close that. Let me go to views and includes, and I want to extract this. So let's extract. Yeah, extract right there. Extract. So in there, it's there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy some of this content here, create a new file. In fact, maybe let me just copy everything from here and paste it in here, temporal, because I'm going to replace that file. So I'm going to cut this one. I'm just getting the old file from the zip folder because that one has become messed up for some reason. Corruption. I thought only corruption only is only in the government. Okay, so this is fine, but it doesn't have the cool stuff we added. So that's because we've replaced it. Wait a sec, have we? Yeah. So the original looked like this. So I have no idea how we ended up with this, but it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to change this from there. Copy this, in fact, copy this whole thing up to there. So like so. And come back to the card view. Wait a minute. Okay. So all of this, wait, except for the link, up to where the link starts. So I'm going to replace this part here. Boom. Okay, that should do it. Let's see now. Aha. So now, as you can see, we can clearly see the ones I liked. It's a working. Very nice. Now let me try and log in as somebody else to see if it won't show these particular items. Yeah, so I'm gonna log out. Let me log in as Mary this time. And if I go to photos, you see that it doesn't show that I liked those. So let me like this one instead. It doesn't respond immediately. Let me like that one as well. But when I refresh the page, you will see that I did that. Now let's make it so that when we click, it actually shows that I liked that thing, or whether I liked it or not, it should tell me. So this is all in the response. So if we go to Ajax here, where we are doing the thing here, so we should tell whether we disabled it or enabled it. Okay, so we just need to know the value of the disabled. So liked is equal to true or false. So what I want to do is create over here a variable. I'm just going to call this variable info. So info is equal to an empty array. And then what I'll do is right at the end here, because this is the index thingy, right at the end I want to echo whatever is inside info as the result. Now info is an array, so we can't echo it. Instead we'll do JSON encode, so that we encode it as a JSON piece of text, which is nice. Now this way I can send whatever information I want down the tubes. Now the first thing we can do, actually, instead of wasting it like this, we can say data type over here. Actually, I can do that. Wait a minute. We know there will be a data type all the time. So what I'm going to do is say data type will be equal to the post data type, like that, so that we always know what data type will. Actually, maybe this wasn't the best. Yeah, this I think I should put after we create post data here, like so. Okay, That way we send back our data type. So I'm going to copy this. Now here I want to know whether we liked or we disliked. Here we know we liked, so I'm going to say info liked will be set to true. All right, so I'm going to copy that. Here it will depend on what we've done. So here, first of all, liked will be false, because if disabled is 1, then that's false. But then if we set it to true, let's set it to 0, then liked is true. So all we need to do is check the info liked to know whether it's true or false, and that's it. It's going to return here. So great. Now we need to know what to do with this information. So I'm going to show you the result of this information. So if I refresh and then I click, you see this is what we get. We get data type is like, and liked is false. So I removed the like there. If I click again, you see now that liked is true. So it's alternating between true and false, which is correct. Now we just need to use that information to light up this thing here. So let's see how we can do that particular thing. Now that is JavaScript, right? When we receive the information, I'm going to remove this temporal file I had, and let's go to our JavaScript. Now here we have to change this baby right there, okay, this SVG, but the thing we clicked is the div. So if we grab the div, it's easy to grab the SVG from within it, so no biggie. Then we can just change the fill attribute. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is this. On the click, because we know what we clicked is this one, so we can easily grab it back, no problem. Then we grab the SVG and put the color. Now when it comes to color, these are the two colors right here we are dealing with. So I'm going to grab this and copy that. Wait, I said copy, not cut. What the? Anyway, anywho, if I now go to the home page, where is the home page? Let me close all these files. They're clogging up my... Okay, so let's go to the photos page where there's this function here, and we're going to create a new function here. Say, what do we do? Let's see. Let's create the handle result function. It's always better to do that, and we'll bring the result here. Result. Okay, so handle result should be equal to a function like that. Okay, so that's our result. Now I want to convert a result from let obj into an actual object. Is going to be, we use json.parse. That's the function that we use to convert a string back to JSON in JavaScript. Okay, now that it's an object, we can check for a few things. For example, we can say if obj.dataType is equal to like, then we can do something about that, right? So if it's a like, then I know that there is a true or false of whether we liked something or not. So this is the post thing. So here I can save the liked element temporary. I can't pronounce that word, I swear. Liked element is equal to no, like that. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is when we like something, we know the post ID, but at the same time I want to know what element it is that I clicked. So here I'm going to supply two things. I'm going to put one as LE like that, and then say liked element is equal to that. So first of all, let's say post dot liked element is equal to LEE, which is our element right there. Now we need to supply this, so hopefully I won't forget to add that there. So once we know the liked element, we can always grab it since we know it. So when we click like, so here I'm just going to say liked element dot query selector, because I want to get an SVG from within it, and I'm going to say dot set attribute, okay, because I want to set an attribute called fill, okay, and I'm going to say is equal to, all right, there we go. So back to what had I copied. Now I've copied too many things. This is regrettable. Anyway, if I go to the postcard here, this is the part I wanted to copy. So I'm going to grab just this part here. And let's get back. Okay, so let me just say let SVG is equal to, and let me just leave it at here, like so. And then I can say SVG dot set attribute, and then when I set the attribute, there's fill, and then here there should be a color like that. So let me set the color now. So I'm just going to say let color is going to be equal to, and paste that. So there should be a condition here that sets it either here or there, and the condition is whether obj dot liked is true or false. Okay, now before that we need this element set there. So there's a function called like, which is inside here, this one like. So we are sending an ID, but we should also send this particular element, and we can do that by just sending this like so, because this refers to whatever element it is you're referencing at that time. All right, guys, let's see moment of truth. I click this there, and then I don't get anything. What happened? Let's come back here. What's going on? Oh, I'm not calling the handle result function. Sorry about that. So here we'll do handle result instead of alert, like that. And it's inside post, so we have to do post.handle result. All right, let's refresh and let's try again. Boom, look at that. Simple and straightforward. I click, it changes. Very nice. Isn't this very good? Boom, 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 boom. Very nice. We finally have liking. Interesting. But the final thing is I wanted to actually show numbers. How many people liked and did not like, etc., etc. So how many likes are here? I should know. All right, so let's figure that out. Let's start by putting them on the PHP side, so when we refresh the page, it just happens. Let me also go to the home page, and here it actually does show what's what, which is great. But here I don't think we can like anything because we don't have that function there. But I'm going to put it after we finish with it. I'm going to copy it to the home page as well. The best would be to put the JavaScript in a separate file that you can include wherever you want. So in here, it's working just fine. But let's start from the PHP side to see how many likes a post has. So this will be done in the card thingy here. So all I can do is the best would be to just get the likes from a specific post using this. So I'm going to copy that, and right after the SVG here, I'm just going to echo something. Let me put a, I don't know, maybe we can put a span instead. And then here we're going to say echo out that, like so. And I'm going to remove this one where there's my user ID, because all we need is the row ID of the, I'm going to say likes. So maybe we can say get likes, like so. Oops. So we're going to create a function called get likes, and it's going to return the number of likes with a given post ID. Simple and straightforward. So if we go now to the model like, the same way we created this function, we can create a new one. So I'm going to duplicate that. This one is going to be get likes. And all we need is an integer with a post ID. Okay, so all we need now is to use, let's say, the where clause, but let's use the query function instead. So I'm going to say row. This time I need to actually get the result. So we don't need the if statement either. If there's nothing, we'll return 0. So let's do that. Let me close this. Okay. So all I'm going to need is a post ID and to know that that part is not disabled. We don't need this user ID. So I'm going to remove that. So post ID and disabled 0. Then we need to run an actual query here since we're using the query function. And let's run that query. Let's create the query rather. So I'm going to say select like this, and I'm going to use, instead of just select all, I'll use ID, but then I'm going to say count like this. It's going to count how many the results we get. I'm just using one column here, but you can use a star like this to say select all columns, blah, blah, blah. But I want it to return as little results as possible. Now, I don't want it to be count, I'll say as num, so that the column that's returned is, maybe we can just call it as likes. Okay, from the likes table, right? From likes, yeah, maybe this would be confusing. Maybe let's say total here. From likes, where, right? Where the post ID is equal to the post ID. As simple as that. So how many times does the post ID reflect in the table? That's how many likes it has. So select count, and then here all I need to return is row. It will always return a result here, whether there's 0 or not, but the result will be the first result there, and then in there it's going to have a column called total, because that's what we called it here. So just return that, and that's enough. So if I now refresh, I should see a number, but it says invalid parameter number. That's great, because yeah, we have disabled and post ID here, but here we only have post ID. So we're going to say post ID and disabled is equal to, I could easily just say 0 like that, then I can remove it from here. That's shorter. So refresh, and there we go. So there's one like here, somebody else liked that, one like, as you can see there. Very good. Yeah, those are the number of likes. So if I like this one, it should show 2 now. If I refresh, that is, see, it shows 2. But I want us to be able to update it just like this, right? In real time. So we can do that still. If we go back to our ajax.php, the same way we are adding liked to there, we can also add likes to this thing, right? So all we need to do is, after this entire operation has happened, whether we are inserting or not doesn't really matter, we can add info likes to the end here. We just say info likes is equal to 0. We start with that. So let's do likes. Okay, so likes is equal to, we can use the likes thingy, the like, and then say get likes, and then we just need the post ID. Now obviously the post ID is always in here, so let's put it there and say post ID like so, and that's enough. That will give us the likes we need. So if we go back now to the JavaScript part, this is the part where we grab stuff and so on. Now if I go back to the card view here, there's this span here which with a number, so we need to be able to grab this guy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a class name for us to be able to grab it. I'm going to call it JS likes count, like that. Okay, so you can call this class whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. So if I come back here, so say okay, things are getting tense here. What is this? Query selector. Okay, post.liked element. Okay. So once we set the color, that's great. But what about the number of likes? Here we can just say Okay, you can say post dot liked element, right, dot query selector. Now we are grabbing a class, so we're gonna do dot that. Here we didn't put a dot because we're grabbing the tag name, which is the SVG, but we can also grab the span here. That way we don't need to, because those are distinct, we don't need to use this, but better we use a class. We grab that and say dot inner HTML is equal to the obj.likes, the number of likes. As simple as that. So if I now refresh and click, it should update, but it doesn't. Look at that. Let's check for error, and there is no error. But why is this? I think the reason is probably, did I refresh this? Yeah, I did. Okay, so what's going on? JS likes count, where is that? JS likes count, is the class in here. This is the clicked thing, yes. Okay, so what's happening? The inner HTML, we edit that. Look at that. That's not inner HTML by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, let's refresh and let's click, and there we go. Look at that. Very nice. If I click here, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, no, 1, 0. Okay, so now what if you don't want anything to show and it's a 0, right? So this could be your thing. You can just say is equal to object.likes, like that. So I'm gonna copy this. Now what I'm gonna do here is just do this and say if obj.likes is equal to 0, like that. So what I'm going to do then, I'm going to change obj.likes to set it to an empty string instead. So if it's 0, it becomes an empty string. So if I now refresh and click here, you see that disappears, but when I add a 1, it comes into view. This is not the same with the PHP side when I just refresh the page. So we can fix that by doing exactly the same thing. So here we say this, yeah, this just adds too much overhead. Anyway, not a problem. We're gonna say likes is equal to this. Let's put that there, get likes. Okay, so we set it to that, and then we can say if likes is equal to 0, or you can just say if not likes, that would still work, and say likes is equal to empty, and then here we just set that to likes instead of all of this. Okay guys, there we go. Now they've disappeared whenever there's no like, so that's working as intended now. Very, very cool. Now to get this to work on the home page as well, we just need to copy we're going to send this JavaScript into a separate JavaScript file and then just import it here. Now the reason I don't do that when designing is because once you send this to an actual file, the browser will cache that file. So sometimes you find that you make changes here and you don't see them on your browser, and that's going to drive you insane. So I'm going to show you a trick to avoid that. So I'm going to cut that, and let's go to our assets folder here. So that's the public folder, assets and JS. Then I'm going to right click, new file, and paste this. I'm going to move things over like so and save. So this one will be a like.js, that's what we're going to call it, and save. So that's our JavaScript file. Okay, great, like.js. So if I come back here, instead of adding that, I'll add a script file. Why did I remove that? Let's put a source there, and the source is going to be root, as always, /assets/js/like.js. All right, So if everything went well, it should still work here. So if I click, it's not working. Okay, so that means we didn't insert the file properly. I can go to view page source and look for the link to my JavaScript file. I'm not finding it. Okay, let me search for like. Let's find more likes there. Come on, where are we? Okay, let me search for like.js. It's not there. What is going on here? This is the photos view. It should be right at the end after the footer. Maybe I didn't refresh the page. I did though. Let's view the page source. Why is it not here? This is crazy. Call me maybe. What is going on, guys? What is going on? I'm confused here. Okay, I've saved this one. This is photos.php. Yes. Oh, that's the home page. Sorry, my bad. I'm confused. Let's go to the photos.php. If I click, still, let's view the page source. Okay, but it's right down there. So usually you just click on that thing to see what you get. And I'm getting the file itself, so which means it's actually loaded. So what is the problem? Why aren't things working? Let's go into the console. Let's see the errors. JSON.parse unexpected character on line 1. Okay, so whenever you see this, it just means there's an error in your PHP code. So JSON.parse, that means it's failing to parse the JSON that it has received. So okay, so this is the problem right here. You see there? That's the reason why. This root is JavaScript, is PHP, and we've moved this to a JavaScript file, okay? So which means we don't actually have access. This will not be run as a PHP file at any time, so this won't be processed. So what we're gonna do here is replace this. I'm just gonna cut this out here, and I'll replace this with root like that, and then plus like so. Okay, in fact I'll say post.root, and let me come here and I'm going to say root and set that to a value root that is going to be in the general window system. So what I'll do is there are certain things I'll need to do in the PHP file, and that one of those is creating the root variable. So I'm going to create it from here. I'm going to say var root is equal to that root there, like so. Okay, so I'm creating this variable here so that it's part of the window object now, so that whenever I include something and reference it from the window object, then I can have access to it. Any of these functions can access root now, and this includes this one right there. Okay, so this should work now, unless I'm getting rusty or something. Yeah, there it is. It's working like a charm. Now let's go to home page. It doesn't work here yet because we have to include exactly what we included here as well on the home page. So let me go to the home page. Where is the home? So wherever now you want likes to happen, you just include that there. So here it works as well now. Very nice. Yes, yes. What else? Now, if for some reason you want to change something in your JS file and you find that you change things but it's not working, just put a question mark here at the end of any file. It can be CSS, JavaScript, whatever, and put a random number there like that. This will force your browser to reload the page, reload this file, and then you will see your changes, just in case. Okay, in case it's cached. In case you go and change your JavaScript but you don't see any changes, try that. It may save you a headache. Alright guys, so things have worked. Finally, we have a like button on our project, so we can easily like like that. Very good. Alright guys, so in the next video we're going to do something similar but with comments. I will see you in the next video.